Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, host of the program. And this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most home sellers think that their home will sell as is with no issues. However, the reality is that many home sales do fall apart. What are the most common reasons that a home sale falls apart, and what can home sellers do about it?
Well, Richard, I just put a buyer under contract and I kind of, it was kind of fun for me because I really got a sense of how the buyer feels too. They're so excited once they get a contract signed. That's going to be their new home. So they want it to work as well as the sellers do. However, there are certain things that kind of can take away the certainty that it's going to go through. There are actually 8 to 10 different ways a buyer can back out of a contract, get their earnest deposit back, no harm, no foul. But I don't really think they want to do that. It is possible for them to change their mind. But there are certain things that kind of could make the buyer think twice. And buyer's remorse is a very common thing. Buyers really need reassurance that they made the right decision. I working with this buyer recently, they were looking at a couple of homes and I'm like, I don't think it's going to be approved that I didn't really want them to jump on it because I felt like the house wouldn't qualify for the financing that they were going towards. They were looking for a mountain property. It was a real fixer-upper. The plumbing wasn't working right. The septic system wasn't working right. I mean, it had a lot of landmines to get through. And it wasn't the right deal for them. So we kept looking. And once we did get them under contract for actually a really nice property. They're so excited. So we're hoping to keep them happy and excited all the way through the process. But if the sellers kind of hold back, they are obligated to disclose any adverse facts that they know about the home. But the problem is a lot of home sellers may not know about adverse facts. They might think it's fine. I have it checked out every year. It should be fine. Um, and talking about this one client, my hairdresser actually, when she bought her first home, that was when the market was red hot and buyers didn't get very many choices. Essentially, the buyers were like, hey, take it or leave it as is. If you don't want it, I got a stack of buyers waiting to get out for you to get out of the way so they can buy it. So, and their agent that they picked at the time kind of took on that attitude. So didn't even attend the inspection. She didn't ask them to do a walkthrough prior to closing. So after they closed on the home and got into the house, they found all kinds of problems. And some of these things were not disclosed to them. As an example, rather than fix the roof, the seller went up on the roof and put Flex Seal on the composite shingles. Could you imagine that, Richard?
That,
Putting glue?
yeah, that does not sound like a solution. And that sounds like something sooner or later it's going to come to the attention. Either people spot it or there's a problem with the roof itself.
Right, exactly. So, and imagine having to pull that off and replace it would
Right.
make it even more expensive. So, the agent never did a walkthrough for him, but she showed up on closing day to collect her check. And there she was, grabbing her check and giving her husband a big kiss. And they both rode off into the sunset with fancy cars with a big check. And of course, they get regular updates from her, but now that that buyer is buying another home, you know what? They didn't call her, right? Because they didn't really get the impression that the agent cared at all about the process. Now it kind of swung the other way. So some of the agents, because now they have to justify their fee, they tend to try to get stuff for the buyers. So I actually had a deal fall through because the agent convinced the buyer that they deserved a new roof. She was going to have her roofer look at the roof, and the roofer came out and gave a bid and said, oh, yeah, I can do it. It needs a new roof. So they asked the seller to file a claim. Seller filed a claim. The insurance company said there's nothing wrong with the roof. So we brought in the roofer I trust to look at it. And guess what he said? There's nothing wrong with the roof. He would have told me if there was something wrong with the roof, and he has in the past. So as a result, the agent managed this expectation in the buyer's head that they deserved all these new things. Otherwise, they should walk away. And that's what happened. She walked away at the last minute. So nobody wants that situation. It is not fun because in the seller's mind, they're ready to go. Okay. They are ready to move. They've already planning on their net proceeds to do whatever they're doing with their net proceeds. I had a buyer walk away over a $50 plumbing repair. So it wasn't the repair. It really didn't need to be done. It was, I think that the buyer changed their mind for whatever reason. And that issue could have been solved. The buyer's agent could have paid the repair. I could have paid the repair. But by then they were just done, right? So sometimes it's the agents that overpromise and expect the seller to deliver, and buyers will have remorse. So it takes the whole team to get it done. And a lot of buyers will, if they think they're buying a project, they're even more likely to walk away if they don't get everything they want in the inspections. And some of these agents are like, oh, don't worry, we'll just ask for the seller to fix it in the inspection phase. But even though they might have gotten a discounted price on the home, like I had one sell recently where it was priced $60,000 below market value because it had some dramatic paint. That was really the only reason. Well, there was another problem, which was, and the seller didn't know that he hired a professional to finish the basement. He hired a professional contractor, was thinking that the contractor did the right thing. And in fact, the contractor never pulled a permit, didn't do it to current building code. And so the buyer's agent asked for $25,000 off the price because the basement wasn't permitted. Well, it turned out that, the seller went and got a permit. It cost the seller $2,000 to resolve it. And that agent actually went to regional building and ratted the house out at regional building to them and had a note put in the file that, oh, that house basement's is finished without a permit. And so, and did you know, Richard, that people could do that anonymously? Your neighbor could call and say, hey, they put on a roof and they didn't get a permit. Did you know that?
I actually had no idea that is some like form of snitching. I mean, I guess if it's really unhealthy or something, bottom line, Barb, is I had zero idea that anyone could do something like that.
Yeah, I mean it's a basically a quasi-government entity. It's a county entity that I think is supposed to oversee contractors. But if somebody turns the house in, then it could be a potential for a fine or something down the road, right? I remember years ago, and this happens all the time with roofs, where the seller filed a roof claim, they hired a roofer to put the roof on. They're thinking everything's fine. They don't check the county website, and lo and behold, the roofer never pulled a permit. And so that falls back on the seller when they go to sell it. So we help our sellers with these things just to make sure they are aware of it up front, because a lot of times people are really busy with their lives. If they're hiring professionals, they're assuming the professionals are jumping through all the hoops that they need to jump through to get the property sold. And many times it doesn't happen. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how to prevent your home sale from falling through. And when we come back, we're going to give you the top tips on the way you can prevent your home sale from falling through. And that's it, Richard.
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can listen to replays of the show anytime on all of the major podcast platforms and her YouTube channel, Barb Schlinker. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900. So, Barb, what are the benefits of a certified pre-owned home program?
Well, Richard, we have this program to give both the sellers and the buyers certainty when they're selling, and the buyer certainty when they're buying. It's called a certified pre-owned home program. And it has different things that we do to the home, services that we provide in order to make sure that the sale does not fall through. And part of that is basically involves making sure we've checked out the home up front and we're providing that certainty and that knowledge to the buyer at closing. So, not all real estate agents are the same. There are 6,300 in the Pikes Peak region. There are 30,000 in Denver. There's one on every corner. And there is no standardization as to how to sell a house. I will tell you that right now. So if you are thinking of selling, definitely do your homework and compare agents and just see what is their strategy? What is the team that you're picking to ensure that you're going to get to the finish line at the end? Because having a deal fall out is absolutely a nightmare. Because first of all, what happens is the other agents, when they see the house was under contract and went back on the market, the automatic assumption is there's something wrong with the house. But it could just be the buyer changing their mind, or maybe the financing fell through or something like that. But automatically, when a deal falls out, I get questions from agents going, well, what happened? Send me the inspection report. What's wrong? And there's nothing wrong with the house usually. Okay, so when you sign with a realtor, you want to evaluate what is their marketing, how do they create demand, and how do they help sellers get to the finish line. So here are some of the benefits of offering a certified pre-owned home. First of all, you won't have to worry about any more last minute renegotiations of the sale because unlicensed, and let me clarify that, in the state of Colorado, they do not regulate inspectors. I could be an inspector and I'm scary with a screwdriver in my hand. There is no qualification to do that job. They get an online certification if that makes you feel any better. But these agents typically recommend an inspector. It's Joe, Billy, Bob that went online and took a 1-week course, and now he's judging the systems of your home. And they've made a lot of mistakes. I had one time the inspector literally sucked the well dry. He ran every single faucet in the house, inside and outside the house, for 4 hours and sucked sand up through the well into the plumbing fixtures into the house. And then he hooked up this little water pressure gauge on the hose, and it was showing, a 0 indication on the gauge, but there's tons of water coming out the hose. So he talked the buyer out of buying the home. And they terminated because he was claiming there was something wrong with the well. There was nothing wrong with the well. It was just the way this inspector did things. I've had them blow up deals over their gadgets failing. They'll tell the buyer, oh, there's carbon monoxide in the house, when in fact it was their gadget that was broken. It wasn't the house. There's just all kinds of things happens all the time. So the reason why you want this program is that, first of all, the seller is able to have knowledge about the condition of their home up front. They should disclose any adverse facts. And I think that the buyers absolutely respect you and they respect the house when you're upfront with whatever you have to do. You don't necessarily have to fix things, but if you disclose it, then you basically given yourself immunity in the future of any legal disputes for failure to disclose. Nobody wants to go down that road because only lawyers like lawsuits, not normal people. Also, a benefit is that the sellers are given the option to make those repairs, and they have more time to negotiate the best contractors to do the job and pricing on these jobs. You can also position the home as being just as competitive as new homes by offering warranties and offering pre-inspection, pre-certified home. It's a great thing. And also, those homes are more likely to sell faster and for more money. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call. This is part of some of the services that we provide to our clients. You can call us at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker on the program Your Real Estate Voice. She is your voice. And if you're thinking of selling your home, you want to get the most amount of money Call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. A short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about the top design trends for 2025 when you're selling your home. Stay tuned for that.